Hey guys, what's up, and welcome to Rezocast episode 42. We figured that out before we got in here this time. I'm joined this week by special guest Triton. Wait, what's that? Oh, I'm sorry. Triton is actually a host on this show. I'm sorry, I was unaware because he hasn't been here in so long.
And it's very obvious I haven't been here because the numbers are just going down. Actually, they're probably going up in my absence, to be honest. But it is good to be back.
But yeah, seriously, Lego's not going to be with us this week. He had some work things to do, but I am joined, like I said, by Triton and special guest, Rezo's own SuperProfessor. How are you doing this week, SuperProfessor?
I'm doing great, Hove. Things are great. It's really awesome to be here with you guys and to be back for Triton's return and for number 42. We also know that, like, according to Douglas Adams, that is like, the number, the meaning of life. That is the critical number. So good choice on number to have me on.
I'm nodding like I knew that. And if anyone hasn't figured it out yet, his name isn't just SuperProfessor for show.
Exactly.
This is real life stuff.
Yep, real life.
But what have you been up to this week? Looking forward to Destiny 2 beta stuff. What's been going
on? I know for me, I am just jonesing for the beta. I am sort of like catching snippets of stuff from IGN and just following different feeds and just sort of like, not that I need to know everything, but like little visuals just give me enough to get me excited. And I just have started, I think, pre-downloading. I don't want to check. I think it's working. I've seen a title screen, and that kind of stuff is just getting me super riled up because it's close. It's very, very close, and I just can't wait. It's overwhelming the week.
Yeah, I mean, I realized it today. I was trying to think. This is our last episode before the beta drops.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's fitting the Triton's back. Something's actually happening. So Triton's like, oh, I should probably show up. I'm just kidding, by the way. Triton just had some stuff to do. It's a busy time. But what about you, man? What have you been up to? It's been a while.
Well, I have pre-ordered, like I said before the show, I pre-ordered it twice so I could have a copy for my sons and I to play with. So when Destiny 2 comes out, so I have 2 beta codes, so I'm going to get those done. So thankfully, the update this week has all the instructions as to how to go ahead and redeem your code. But actually, I was trying to play some Destiny the other day. So yeah, I've been pretty busy. All my sons are deeply involved in baseball, so we're just traveling everywhere every weekend, multiple times a day. But I found some time in the middle of the other day to play some Destiny, and that's when the servers were down or something like that for PS4 for a very small amount of time. So I was really not happy. But we ended up playing a strike. Actually, my middle son is really excited for Destiny 2, actually, and he was thinking, oh, I want to play Destiny 1 and try to get caught up and figure out what's going on. And he actually really likes things that, I think at this point we don't find too much enjoyment in. Like, he'll just be in a strike playlist for an hour. So I ended up trying to get him set up in that and realized I played, like I tweeted out, I played like half the Omnigul strike without giving him the controller before he was like, hey, Dad, can I play? So I kind of got sucked back into a little bit of Destiny. It was enjoyable for the hour that I was able to play. But yeah, that's been pretty much my week so far.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. My week has been totally consumed by Destiny 2 and no Destiny. I have spent my entire week, literally almost the entire week, not just like when I was awake, like all week, playing PUBG and reading about Destiny 2. I think the one day I played like 16 hours with there was a dinner break in there. But that game has been, it's a good time for me to play it.
Was it a chicken dinner at least? Was it? Yes? No?
I think I got one that day.
Okay.
I've been averaging the last 3 days. I've gotten one each day, so yeah, I'm happy with that.
I'm not playing it, but I'm watching people on stream playing it, and that amazing. I don't know if you saw Abbott's amazing survival.
Oh my god! Behind the bookcase.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
So good. Like, I did not see him in Abbott's face. That shock. It's a meme in and of itself. So good call, a bit too lethal. That was hilarious.
Yeah. But it's coming. Destiny 2 is coming. So, well, first of all, I guess we'll get right into a quick little bit of info with that. Like Triton was saying, you can go redeem your beta codes if you ordered from a third-party, GameStop, whatever. You can go to Bungie.net, redeem your code there, similar to redeeming it for emblems and such, and then they'll give you something, I believe, and then you go download the beta. If you ordered through the PlayStation Store, I guess Xbox, you can just go in and download the beta, which I already did. It's all downloaded. Pre-download is ready. If you haven't, go do it. So yeah, that's coming. That makes it feel real, I think.
Yeah.
Hove preloads a lot of things, just for as an aside, but let's keep going, Hove. You can.
Yeah. But to follow up on that, like the fact that you can load up the title screen and listen to the first song or that instrumental and just feel like it was 4 years ago, 3 years ago ish. I forget the time frame, but like you're there, you're remembering, how that felt that first time, and that's so amazing. Press X as many times as you can; it will not let you in. Keep trying, keep trying. You can hope. You can hope. Soon.
Well, speaking of the beta, they revealed, I think, pretty much most of the stuff that's going to be in it. I think as we talked last week, it's going to be most of the same things that were available at the reveal event in E3. There will be the Homecoming. Is that the name of the first mission, or is that the Spider-Man movie, or both?
It's the Spider-Man movie for sure. I think it is. I think it is.
Yeah.
Little Canadian there, but it's definitely. I can't remember if that's the name of the first strike or not.
I think it is, but Spider-Man movie's good too. So either way, there's going to be the that first mission. There's going to be the inverted spire strike. There's going to be some PvP, which now is Countdown and Control, which as of last week we talked about there's going to be some changes. We'll cover those in just a minute. And then Sunday there will be the 1 hour on the farm.
Yeah.
So 6 subclasses, 2 for each class are going to be available, which is all of them as far as we're aware.
Yeah.
Anything official last declaration? Boot up the game. What class are you running? What subclass are you running?
For me, it has to be Hunter all the way. It has to be playing Hunter always. I mean, my first PvP experience back in the day was the Golden Eye on the N64. So when I see a golden gun, a one-shot kill, I have no choice. I'm a pawn to that sort of original PvP experience, split screen 4 ways with my brother and everyone, But so I've got to play Hunter. I've just got to try that,
So
but
specifically, you're staying old school. You're going Golden Gun.
Golden gun, and I'll pole dance later because I do know how to pole dance. So I'm sure I can do that.
I feel like that's what most people do. Like they have a normal job during the day and then they pole dance later.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah, exactly. So I'm going to start with Hunter, and I think if I try to second class, a little bit into it, it'll be Titan for sure. It's got to be Shield Titan.
Captain America.
Space Captain America. Yes.
Triton, what are you thinking, buddy?
I'm gonna go with what SuperProfessor said. I think the big thing is I'm not gonna be able to get off during the day Tuesday, but I figured we'd be doing some type of podcast 3-way activity besides what we do normally, Hope. So in that regard, I figure whatever you guys weren't picking, and it seems like you and Lego debate between Warlock and Titan. So I'll probably end up going Hunter. That's the way I was leaning anyways. So I'll give that a try and hopefully give I'm probably going to go Warlock, actually, if I do something else, because I realized just looking at my stats recently that, like, Warlock, I played, like, 1/5 time on Warlock in Destiny 1 than the other 2 characters. So I think I'd like to give that a little bit more time in Destiny 2.
I'm definitely going Space Captain America. There's no question about it. That's got to be the first one, especially now that they've showed some gameplay of it, which, again, we'll talk about in just a minute. And now it looks super exciting, even more so than before. And Lego wanted me, he gave me permission to tell everyone that he's going to start as a Dong Blade.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good.
That's official. Lego, when you hear this, I did it for you. It's official. He's also going to murder me now. But moving on to some of those changes, one of the first ones, because we did mention it last week, Control. Now, they called them impactful changes, and they definitely change it, and I think I like all of them. They seem to go... The first one being A and C points are auto-captured. When you start the game, they're captured, everyone goes to B. I think a lot of that came from it being, 4v4 now, less people. It's something that's already done. There's no more neutralization of points. It goes straight from captured for one team to captured for the other. It's the capturing is faster in general, and more players does not speed it up. It's just one, straight speed. And scoring has been simplified. There's no more 100 points, 200 points, 300 points. It's a point per kill depending on how many flags you have. 1, 2, or 3, a max of 3 points per kill. So really just kind of a slimmed down, easier, simpler version of Control. What do you guys think?
I mean, I'm always a little nervous because one of my top stats is neutralizing points. I am the neutralizer, I come in to just hold the ground. So of course that makes me a little bit sad, but I do like the way it gets going really quickly. I feel good with the changes, but I kind of still feel like I want it 5v5, not 4v4. I still feel like there's a player missing, and that's going to depend on map size and feeling for it. But I mean, I don't know about you. I don't know if I'm gonna clamor for B right away. I'm probably going to take up flank and position to then control it. Like I think they think we're just gonna butt heads immediately. We've seen how that happens sometimes. It doesn't always go well. But the points too. The points. I like that it's simplified, but it feels like supremacy points now. And that kind of, there's something about getting 5,000, 6,000 points in a 20,000 point match and just feeling like, I know you can just math it down, but it's still, the numbers feel impressive to just hit those high scores. So.
Yeah, I agree with that. Even in strike scoring, I used to always, it didn't matter, but I used to just always, suck it, Triton. I got the highest score. I got 20,000 points. Nobody cared, but I did.
Well, I certainly didn't care, especially because it was you. I think that's some of the things we talked about a few times, and SuperProfessor hit on it, is like there's some things that Destiny 1 did that, even though I think less is more for the scoring, you're either getting, if you have 2 points, you're going to get 2 points for a kill. One, that's more straightforward. There's something about like I'll call it like a big element with Destiny, like an epic element, whether it is the fact that there's 6 people there, whether it's the fact that the old school special ammo that we used to talk about, like the mobility in Destiny, and now kind of the scoring in these big scores, that is still part of Destiny to me. So I think in some respects, it does make sense for them to move to an environment where it's like, okay, you don't win by a headshot or some kind of like off number of points. But at the same time, you're right, there's like a feeling you get like, oh my gosh, did you see 500 points pop up if you get a breaker and some other things go on, or I don't even remember what's 5 kills. That's not breaker. What
Slayer?
is Slayer? So something like that. So those big scores are kind of part of the game too. So I'll miss that a little bit, but at the same time, I am more in favor of things making more sense. Like I don't know how many times I would have ever lost on tens of points or whatever. But I think it does, at the end of the day, make for a cleaner PvP. Let's call it.
Yeah. Yeah, there will be some really tight matches, though, where people come down to a point or two. And having that balance of a zone will really change everything. Because, 3 zones is a little much, but, you'll have to hold 2, I think, in this version, no matter what. Those kills are worth twice as much immediately. And I know they were kind of before, but as long as I can still get postmortems and trip mines everywhere and all that, I'm still okay with that. But I'm curious to see if, do we know, and I may just be oblivious to this, is 4v4 all modes, or will there be a 3v3 or a 5v5? Do we know yet? Like, obviously in the beta it's 4v4. We'll have to wait and see. I'm curious.
Everything they've said has been 4v4 across the board.
Yeah, that's fine. And I'm just curious to see how that feels, because I remember that there's just something about the epicness of the 6. Yeah, there's always that guy randomly on your team who joins in that just adds to you. That's Lego, right? And he just messes everything up for us and keeps screwing up. But I'm curious to see how the 4 feels when I can't choose to play it differently, and see how that works. So.
I do think not having the choice of going into 6s and such is a little, I don't want to say disappointing, but it's one less thing to do. But I do get why they're doing it. I'm sure it helps with matchmaking, map design, map sizes. It makes things much easier for them to put out something that's more balanced and easier to please everybody. Well, maybe not please everybody, but can't please everybody. But we'll see. I still can't imagine that we are going to go the lifespan of Destiny 2 without at least a rumble.
Yeah,
right.
Come on. What was the last FPS that was decent that you played that didn't have a free-for-all?
Competitive one, I'm not sure. And I don't want to say competitive. Borderlands doesn't have it, but it's a different kind of game. That's the one that came to my mind. Yeah. So.
And maybe they'll save alternate modes for, hey, that would be cool. Like if Iron Banner showed up and it was only 6v6 that week. That would be exciting. Awesome. Then I'd be playing it more. Or, a certain type of event where it's all Rumble. So, you're always playing alone. That could make it fun for those weeks simply on the change in style. So we'll see.
Yeah, and they still haven't, I don't think Iron Banner's been mentioned a single time at all in any of this stuff. Right. So who knows? Yeah.
And if they came with like a limited edition map for that event, and maybe, well, I guess people would hate that, just constantly playing just that, but something like that would be cool. Hopefully, you brought up a good point there with the the map design. It's like one of those things that we don't always I don't want to say we don't always talk about, but maybe you don't always think about, is a lot of times some of the players that are, play this competitively, or they really dive into the strategy, talk a lot about how the maps aren't designed for a certain amount of players on the board. So to have all the way across the board, you would then expect for every map to make sense, no matter which mode that is, potentially, at least in terms of the amount of players that are on the board. So,
and not just size, they've also said they've been designed per game mode as well, countdown specific, control specific,
right? Okay,
whatever else they have. So that should be really good. And they are going to have 2 PvP maps. The one is called Endless Veil, which looks to be, it kind of looked very like Pantheon and Vertigo-ish.
Yeah,
that was cool. And the one they announced today is called Vostok. Yeah, and it takes place in the Iron Temple social space.
Wasn't Endless Veil the name of one of those strippers during that one theme night that you went to? I swear that was her name. It just came back to me. Sorry, Hove. Okay.
Well, or Endless Valium sounds like a really good sort of prescription for that. But,
This is true.
Yeah. What do you think of it being in the social space? What are your thoughts on Vostok being on the peak?
I mean, I think it's cool. I can't bring myself to get upset. Like, it hasn't been as bad as some things, but you do see the people who are giving it the recycled content, Destiny 1.5, and blah, blah, blah. But I mean, we're still taking place. The tower was destroyed. You can't destroy an entire, I guess you could destroy an entire mountain, but that was another place that was kind of a safe zone that we can go. And it's connective tissue. We still take place on the same Earth. It's still the same game. We're still in the same area. So I don't mind it. I think it's a cool exploration of something that's already there.
Yep. I think there'll be some cool, because they've added a few doors that are now open and a few things that weren't there that I think it's cool to like see it linked up and you want to kind of see things a little differently from a new perspective. It's a new story and you're back in an old place. So I'm cool with that. I think it'll be neat. We'll see.
And I think some of those people, like in Destiny 1, in that kind of context, have been like, man, it'd been awesome to have a PvP map here. Like, there's so many people that probably said that. So the fact that it's like moved into Destiny 2, and as Hove mentioned, it kind of connects us from one another. And SuperProfessor, you're talking about maybe we'll see things that we haven't. Like, if you're gonna get mad about that, I'm sure you're probably in that group of people that are mad about anything like that. So I happen to think that it's a pretty cool idea. And again, I think a lot of people were clamoring for that in Destiny 1 and would have absolutely loved it. So the fact that it's a couple months later, I don't think that's a big deal.
No, I like it. It's really, I mean, I guess you could say it's recycled content, but really it's not. It's not.
The thing I like the most about it is it's like Rusted Lands, where it's not really a well-balanced map at times, or certain lanes seem weird. Endless Veil looks wonderfully symmetrical.
Yeah.
The design, of course, and the colors let you know where you are, but sometimes I like a map to have weird nooks that are particular if you're going left or right or up or something. So I kind of like that about it.
I liked that it had a couple, it looked like on both sides there were little sniper towers.
Yep.
With like windows almost, which is something that seems very basic, but I can't think of anywhere. Yeah, there were weird cheese spots and whatnot, but there weren't any like sniper towers in Destiny with like a window that you shot out of and could duck back and forth. Were there that I can really think of?
Not like windows per se. Yeah. I think Widow's Court, there's like a couple perches, but there's not like a straight window.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. I just think that's kind of cool, and it seems I believe there's like one on each side. Like each control point
side has
one overlooking it, sort of. So that's cool. But well, before that was the control and PvP stuff. And now I want to change gears a little bit because A, I was really excited about Destiny 2, and B, there is a reason Lego is the host of this podcast, not me, because I'm bad at it. We haven't had a new Rezocast in a long time, and I completely forgot that there's supposed to be a section where we get to know the professor, and I just went straight into Destiny 2 because I don't know what I'm doing. So Lego, come back soon. But anyway, like we said, we got the SuperProfessor here. The name is not for show. But we're going to get to know him a little bit. So why don't you start off telling us a little bit about what you think your place in the Destiny community and Resolute are. What do you like to do? What do you like to be a part of?
I mean, well, I'll start by saying, yes, I am a university professor. I do have a PhD in English Lit. and I know a lot about British and American and Canadian literature, specifically Shakespeare and Canadian literature now. Yes, there are Canadian authors and Canadian books, and we have our own stuff, and I can always recommend some good stuff, but I love to let people know more about, like, not just lore per se. Lore is fascinating, but narrative potential and things that can happen in stories, in places. I teach theater and theater stuff, so obviously I talk to students a lot about how narratives should evolve, what characters should make what choices, what's exciting, what's not, what we can do with it. And ultimately, I think for me, it's been about being a really sort of positive role model. I remember before joining Rezo, in year one, I kept meeting teenagers who just couldn't make friends and couldn't finish strikes, and people in social spaces who would message me, and they'd always say, "Are you a real professor? Could I like hang out with you? Could you show me how to do this, because I don't know how and I have no friends in this space."
Oh.
And I kept thinking, like, this is a great place to like play with the old, the young, everyone, and have that real positive vibe. And that's kind of what led me to apply to Rezo and begin to do a bit of stuff with that, with streaming. And I'll be streaming again once D2 starts again. My token night in year two was chasing reset. So Monday nights, all the things we need to get done before reset happens. And I have been known to, like, let people in stream know, help them with their homework, help them with whatever they're doing at school, or help them through things. I always correct Six Trez's English. That's just one of my jobs.
Yeah, that's fair.
He loves that. He always checks with me, but it's being a gamer in my 30s, having gamed as a kid and wanting to just see this grow. When I first gamed, it wasn't online. Now it is, and there's ways to make that connection and build community with people. So that's a huge part of what I love about the whole experience, especially being part of Rezo and this community. There's some great people who do some wonderful stuff. So
now, you mentioned with the literature and narrative and the characters, what choices they should make and whatnot. Knowing that, is the story in Destiny 1 something that bothered you more, or the lack of story that bothered you think, more than the general person? And is the anticipated ramped up story in Destiny 2 something that excites you more?
Okay. I think as much as there were story holes and so much that was missing in the first Destiny, I'm also a player who really loves to get into kind of the emotional excitement of trials, these different moments of raids. So sometimes I would let that slip. But ultimately, I think I was okay with seeing them try stuff that sometimes gamers didn't think worked as well for gameplay, but I didn't mind for story. I want to go on the record now and say that Skolas was one of the best characters to try and build, and it was a good first real attempt at a true villain. And I really love that about it. Like, he had this goal. He was, taking kells from across time, and it was great. Yes, it's all in the Grimoire. Yes, it's all hidden behind other doors and gateways,
right,
but they were trying with it. And I truly think, for me, The Taken King was the ultimate experience in finally getting story right as to what it could be. They do say that now they're going to be really having established a world, telling more story. But sometimes for me, the best thing I tell students about writing a play, a story, a short essay or something is sometimes it's best to just pull a whole section out of it and leave people thinking. Now, D1 pulled far too many of them out. There weren't enough connections at times, but sometimes you want to leave things a little gray or a little open and see what can happen with them. And I hope they do some more of that here. So I think I was a little bit more forgiving, than I have been with certain other titles, different games that I've played. But I think that them getting it right with Taken King settled me staying in the world and loving it. For me, that was the greatest villain and story they've done to date. So I hope Gaul can hold a candle to Oryx. We'll see. For me, Oryx was the one. So.
Well, SuperProfessor, obviously we want to kind of touch on not just your time with gaming, but I think that's an aspect that a lot of people will be curious about. So when you sit down and you're making a syllabus for one of your courses and you're trying to walk your students through, basically a journey from, whether they need to participate, read these things to get the most out of the course. You've seen Destiny 1 in its entirety. If you had to make a syllabus for somebody for Destiny 1 and had to divide the parts of the game into certain percentages, how would you divide those things to kind of give somebody a journey through Destiny 1? And why would you weight things a certain way?
Okay.
Triton coming back
think
strong.
that was the greatest. I feel like I'm at my 10-year review committee right now, and they're going to see if they keep me at the university. I think I would tell them that I'd want them to spend time totally playing in isolation. And what I mean by that is playing story campaigns alone. That includes patrol. Then to start playing randomly with strikes and PvP without friends, and then to play with, and this could go across, all the different DLCs and titles, and then to play the game with groups that I've either set up, like maybe grab some Rezo guys to play with students, and play it in those 3 phases: alone, with others they don't know, and with others that they do know. Now, in terms of narrative, I think, or where I'd focus some of their time, I'd want them to know, like, I'd want them to feel the grind. I don't know that I could force students to feel the grind. I make them read so much and they hate me for it. But, there's something about spending 5 hours in that prison of elders trying to kill Skolas with 3 guardians total that I will never forget. There's something about, for me, making friends pre-Rezo in year 1 to play trials with, and after 10 weeks, finally making it to my first lighthouse. That was a beautiful grind. So I think it would be about, there are different ways of engaging with it in those different pockets. And then, of course, there'd be the, read all the Grimoire week, I think, for sure. Read all of that separate. If that answers your question on dividing up. Yeah, for sure.
I mean, Triton always has good questions, but god damn.
He does. I've listened to all the episodes. It's like I'm waiting for my Triton questions. I know they're gonna be...
Man, I don't want to ever let somebody down, man. But thinking about that, I was like, man, I definitely want to know, because you get the syllabus and you're like, 40% participation, 20% here. I was like, what if SuperProfessor had a Destiny 1 class? I wonder what that would be like.
Just so you know,
I would take that class.
I do teach a class at the University of Ottawa, where I teach in Canada, called the Theatrical Event, where we do 6 weeks of seeing plays, dance, and orchestras. Then we do atypical performances, including a Senators game, and we did the King's Fall raid in class with my students.
That is awesome.
Jails and Jag joined in class, and the students were live in Twitch. I had students live moderating, asking questions to the guys, and they were answering. And so we played through a community gaming experience like a play, like a story, and they had to sort of see it. I died a lot because I was trying to teach a class and also play the game, but the boys kept me going. They kept me going. The Rezo guys were there.
So that's really awesome.
That is awesome. I did not know that. That is amazing.
Yeah. We'll get you guys to play with them next year. I'll bring in Rezocast.
Sure. If I'm around, I'll definitely do it.
I'll be there.
We'll do it.
So, as far as Destiny itself, your time in Destiny, do you feel like, what are some of your favorite things to do within the game of Destiny? Are you more a PvE guy, a PvP guy? Do you like to sit down and grind something for a long time? Triton, don't comment on that. Or are you more like I'm not even gonna. This is just gonna get even worse. Are you more, you just want to go in, get something done, and get out? What?
Oh God! No.
You can just stop. I get the question. It's okay. You can just stop. I think I'm much more of a PvE person, and I want to be more of a PvP person. And that's not that I'm not terrible. I'm not great at PvP, but I think that's where I get the most longevity out of the game. Once I've gotten through the story, but ultimately, I think it's just overcoming. For me, year 1 was overcoming challenges, knowing nobody. Finding people, LFGs, initial clan, then Rezo, but before that, working through different groups and succeeding in ways that felt incredible, and then sharing that success. Like for me, I love going into patrol. My father-in-law is 65 and plays Destiny, and he likes to stand there and get shot and hold out his sniper rifle and think he's doing a lot of work. And I'm usually lobbing grenades and helping out, but he just loves patrol. So sometimes my father-in-law and I will just go onto Earth and just spend an hour moving around. And I love it. And it's letting things sit. I actually, to play a little D1 last week, I found out my Warlock had never done House of Wolves. So I loaded up the first unfinished story mission and started playing that, and I was like, this was cool, and I was remembering it. So I think it's PvE, of course, to start. PvP is the longevity for me.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I forget who it was with, either Hovey or Mana or someone we were playing, and my callouts were like Professor Perfect. Like, we've got a sniper in the long corridor. We've got 2 people coming around far side, right side of Mana right now. Watch out, grenade being lobbed. I was just going, and they were just like, "You should just die and talk," and like it's a secret weapon to do that. So it's good descriptions, good voice, all that. So yeah.
Well, I have a quick non-Destiny or gaming related question. You said you teach a class at the University of Ottawa.
Mm-hmm.
Are you speaking of Ottawa? Are you a hockey fan, specifically an Ottawa fan?
I'm not a Ottawa fan. I am a hockey fan. I actually think my favorite team is not Canadian. I'll come out and say that I'm a St. Louis Blues fan. So it's because they originally my home province is a place called Saskatchewan between Calgary and Winnipeg, and they were supposed to be the Saskatoon Blues before the St. Louis Blues. There was a discussion, a very early '70s discussion of expansion teams. So in my mind, they were kind of the team we never got. So I kind of liked them, and I didn't like Edmonton or Calgary or Winnipeg. And I've lived in Toronto, and now I'm in Ottawa, and it's just. I'll be honest, it's easier to live in Ottawa than it was in Toronto. That was the Maple Leafs are terrible. We all just have to accept that. But the Sens are fun. I enjoy them, but I mean, it's they did pretty well this year, but I'm not particularly too invested. I like sports with underdog teams. I just like when anyone shouldn't win and they just pull it out. It's like a really great trials game, final game, or lighthouse run. That's what gets me going. Whatever the game is, I love the meta going on when someone's the underdog and they just totally thwomp it and take it over. So.
Well, the thing that made me bring that up, and I'm sure most of the people already know this, but to Loki in chat as well, who's saying "Let's go Hawks." If no one was aware, Triton and I are both from Pittsburgh,
right?
So I'm just saying, hockey has been okay to us the last couple of years.
Of course,
yeah,
of course
it
has.
It's been mildly okay.
It's been mildly.
I think because I'm from Ottawa, I'm supposed to say, yeah, it came down to one goal to get you to the Stanley Cup Finals to beat us. Is that what I'm supposed to do? I'm supposed to like little trash talk, from the Senators? Okay. That's
whatever
fine.
you like. I just like to tell people that, the Penguins won. Well, Trey, you got
back to back.
Back to back.
Also back to back.
Triton, you got anything else specifically for the professor? I know you haven't been here in a while. You got to have at least one more good question. I know you do somewhere in that.
I think as we get into some of the other content, I definitely will have pick the super professor's brain here. But I think on a personal level, I think we'll kind of move along.
Yeah, there's some other cool questions in the community questions that bring up some things that he's into that seem pretty exciting.
Cool.
Quickly, still off track, but I see that River Tamcat and Loki are both here. So this right here, if you're familiar with Rumchata, which is a liqueur made from horchata and rum, they make a thing that I just found today that is actually Rumchata and dark roast coffee mixed together. And so I was going to buy it, and everyone on Twitter, when I tweeted out, said, you have to try it and let me know. And I said I would do a quick review on the podcast. And it is delicious. It is every bit as good as it sounds. Rumchata being like a cream rum-based vanilla and cinnamon liqueur mixed with coffee. I don't even like coffee, and this is delicious. So, also, Lego's going to yell at me because there's ice cubes in here, and he can probably hear it.
Yeah, he can definitely hear it.
Mm-hmm. And he's probably going to yell at you for giving like an ad in the middle of the show.
Yeah, we are not sponsored by Rumchata.
But we want to be.
We would like to be. Rumchata, if you're listening, I will drink this stuff every day. So anyway, we'll get back into Destiny 2. I'm the worst podcast host there is. There's a reason Lego runs this. But getting back into that, over the last couple of days, they have also shown some gameplay of the subclasses that we hadn't seen so much of. Sentinel, Voidwalker specifically. We'll start with Sentinel. Everything looks awesome. That's not an opinion, that's a fact. There is I'll just read off the couple things we know here, and then we can talk about it a little bit. It looks like there is a cooldown on the shield throw. It's like an ability over, where your grenades and stuff are. The melee looks just like the relic swipe, and that looks like you can just keep doing it, but the shield looks to have a cooldown. It looked like the kills all started to regen health, a la Blade Dancer. And the one nice thing, it seems that it isn't a choice between trees, but you can either use that or pop the Ward of Dawn, which is back, confirmed, by holding it down. So you can either do the bubble or Captain America shield on Sentinel at any time, which is pretty sweet, I think. But we don't know much about it. We don't know if it's going to have armor light and all that stuff, but we do know that it can be destroyed by energy weapons and abilities now, not just, super. So it's not as powerful, but we don't know about it. So what do you guys think about the Sentinel? I'm excited.
I'm excited. I mean, I like Titan would be my second choice. It's Hunter all the way, but I mean, I like the option. I guess I'm unsure if the bubble is weaker than the front-facing shield. Obviously, they look visually thinner, the bubbles, than they, so the Word of Dawn looks like it should be able to deal with less. As we've said, it might disperse faster. But I mean, I guess I was hoping maybe that you would have to choose Word of Dawn or the shield and make a choice, not have the option to key in either one. Kind of like, you can't decide to make your Nova Bomb split 3 ways or track unless you reconfig for it. Or when you come out Radiance, change your Radiance on a Warlock now, you lose your super and have to rebuild it. It would be nice to see those choices, I guess, but it just means the Titan's mandatory. It's always now mandatory. I'm always curious to see like 6 Hunters or 6 Warlocks do something, but it will be mandatory, I think. So.
Yeah. And quickly, Conman pointed out it does have armor light. You can see it in the video. He is correct in that. I worded that badly. We don't know. Maybe it just gives you armor light. We don't know if the choices are the same, if it has all the same choices, different choices, one choice. It does have armor light. We saw the little tag in the side of the the feed on the left. So it is going to have some sort of buff to it. We just don't know exactly how that's going to work. So Triton, you going to switch to Space Captain America now? Anything in there look cool to you? It looked really fast.
I mean, I'm not going to switch. I'm definitely going to play it at some point, but I think that anything new is obviously exciting, and then kind of having some type of reference back to the old. It definitely, when anytime you have a bubble, it's probably going to be mandatory, as SuperProfessor said. It's going to be something that everyone needs to use. But if it is thinner, if it's not, maybe it's a little bit more destructible than it's been in the past. I think that's kind of cool, and that the power's going away, so to speak. So like having more things that can destroy it when it's supposedly not as strong as it once was. I think that kind of goes with the flavor potentially, or that could just be coincidental. But I'll definitely give it a try at some point. But I was already really hyped for it when we saw it in the first reveal. So, it's just pretty much continued the excitement. It's not really done anything to really add too much on it. I was pretty high on it to begin with. I'm also having this Captain America cup, so that is a coincidence.
Of course you have a Captain America cup.
There's a Captain Canuck, right? Who's like a terrible Canadian ripoff of Captain America.
Really?
It's a maple leaf red and white shield, just reconfigured. Oh yeah, it didn't last long, but I'll find some photos. I'll send them your way.
I kind of think the maple leaf shield would be kind of cool though.
Yeah, I think it would be, especially it works with the red and the maple leaf would be good. But I mean, I'm sure his nemesis is probably a French Canadian or something. Who knows? But we'll figure that out.
Can we can we talk to the MCU and get like Captain Canuck into the Marvel Cinematic Universe? Because I would be down.
I think so. I think we need to get like Alpha Flight and some of those others connected. We've already got Wolverine, the best Canadian export ever. So so we'll work with that. But yeah, I think we could work on that. Is Stryker the other Titan subclass we get to play?
Yes.
Good. I just wondered. I couldn't remember if it was Stryker or if we had hammers again. Yeah.
No, it's the
easiest
easiest
way. We have hammers. Yeah.
Yeah, the easiest way to remember it is none of the Taken King subclasses are back. Night Stalker, Hammers, and Tickle Fingers, Lord Sith, Lord Electric. Yeah. Speaking of Stryker, though, we had seen a lot from them. We knew most of the stuff about the different shields they can put up and the roaming super now. One thing that did get noticed is shoulder charge is 100% not a one-hit kill. In some of the gameplay, it barely took away a shield from a player, and it takes a melee charge. So you have to have a charged melee or you can't shoulder charge. And it's not a one-hit kill. So really, it's just your melee if you're running is what it kind of seems to me. It seems to be more ranged, because obviously, you're running and you do the shoulder charge, but it is not a one-hit kill anymore. So you can't just run around the map shoulder charging people, which is probably good for balance but bad for Titan football. So good thing we came up with that idea this year, because it wouldn't work next year. And in one of the gameplays, the Stryker had 2 lightning grenades, which we don't know how that came about, whether it's an exotic or a perk or what it is, but yeah, had 2 lightning grenades, threw them both right away. So we'll see about that. The other one being Voidwalker, which we had never really gotten a confirmation that they were going to be back, and now we saw them in action. They have Blink. It is the toned-down version of Blink we have now with terrible radar, and I'm never going to use it because it's terrible with no radar. Scatter Grenade's back, but looked much bigger, but much different. Nova Bomb, in the video they showed, was this really large orb that just kind of slowly tracked throughout the pretty good portion of that map. It went all the way down an alley, but it can be destroyed, and it also explodes into like small tracking Axion bolts as well. Now we don't know how much of that, is it always going to be like that? Was that one of the perk sets, that it tracks, or that it's a big one or that breaks down? We don't know any of that. We just know that there is a Nova Bomb and it can track, and it's a giant purple floating ball, which, what can you say about big purple balls?
I'm sure you can say quite a bit, Ho, but
I'm excited though. Voidwalker's always been one of my favorite classes. It's never been exceptionally weak. It's never really been too overpowered in Destiny 1. It's always been a really fun class. I'm glad to have it back.
I think my biggest, I don't want to say disappointment, because I think that's a little misplaced, but in terms of, and we have someone who's really into the lore. So, Gaul comes to the tower and he blows up and we lose those powers. To me, the power you should have retained would have been one of the ones you went out into another planet to seek, right? So, not to say that that's exactly what they'll do, but to start again with the same 2 that we did initially in Destiny 1. When they destroy that, it seems like they destroy that core. When you go all the way out to another far place and you're like the last Sunbreaker, it seems like you go there and you're like the last one. All those other ones are just like ancient statues. Like, why wouldn't we keep a version of that, or Night Stalker? Not to say that we should be limited to 1, but to me, that's one of the ones that we should have had, in my opinion, lore flavored, because like there's not very many of those other people, and we went and specifically sought that out. It's not really linked to Tower in the sense that that was one of the ones that we were initially like imbued. So as an aside, but with Stryker and kind of the shoulder charging thing, as someone who never was able to really pull that off, I can't personally say I'll miss it, but I could see why maybe people would be disappointed that it's really almost useless now. There's been things that have gone from like, okay, maybe this needs adjusted, and it just gets kind of obliterated in the ground. Now, it's a whole new game, so maybe it will play out differently. Maybe there's a way to buff it or not take a charge or something. But I don't know. I guess I'm more hesitant to say like why they do that. I just feel like, that's something that maybe a lot of people did complain about towards like the end of Destiny's lifetime. It just seemed like shoulder charge was just like you came to the forefront at a time, like, oh, I hate this, I hate this, I hate this. Maybe not the forefront, but seemed to garner more attention. Voidwalker seems pretty cool. I mean, the fact that you could blow up the projectile, I think, is kind of neat. And maybe, again, that could be a different perk or something like that. But it is kind of cool that they're putting spins on what we've seen. But again, I think as we talked about it, kind of my mind goes to like, why are these the ones we have again? Why isn't it one of the ones that we had to like go and be the last Night Stalker ever for that? How come I don't have that or something?
Are you crying?
Well, and
what?
I think
I thought maybe you were crying about not getting those subclasses. Like, I thought I saw tears.
Remember Triton.
I hate you.
It's just a vision of the beta. The beta might include the fully upgraded subclasses. We might lose all of our subclasses and have to start with the original one that we used, Voidwalker, Gunslinger, or something, to start after that first mission. We might not have the new subclass even unlocked in that first mission. We do for the beta or to show it off, but we have no idea. I think a lot of games do that, where you start massively overpowered and then you're like, oh crap, I forget everything and I must restart from zero. So there could be that. I'd really love to see, as you said, like if we had something we retained, I'd love the story to progress differently. If you're a Titan, you start out by going to Zavala and starting his narrative first. If you're a hunter, you go to find Cade and you work with him. You eventually cross to all planets and places, but maybe we slowly recover it and don't start with practically anything but the original subclass. So We'll see. I don't know.
Well, as far as
lightning nades. I love them. I'm a hunter, but I wish hunters had lightning nades. I love those things. They're so beautiful.
well, you've seen
Shoulder charge.
You've seen the change on the lightning nades, though, right? How those work now.
Yes.
And I like it.
Yes.
I do. I agree with you. Lightning nades were fantastic, but as far as balance issues go, I like the change they made too. Now, as far as your aside, Triton, with the new subclasses being the ones not coming back, I get what you're saying, but I do think if you're going to go from a lore narrative perspective, I think there's a million ways you could get around that. Maybe we were only able to learn those because we had become so powerful with the light that was something that was very hard to master. Now we don't have as much light. We're not as powerful with the light. We can't do those ones anymore. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of ways. They may not even touch on it. It may just be
right. And that's not like a thing that I'll like be like, oh my gosh, and I'll come on to episode 52 or whatever that will be at that point and just be pissed off, other than just being mad at you, Hope.
No,
but
actually, it's going to be episode 50.
It will be 50.
The Destiny 2 drops. Yes, episode 50. So that's the one where Triton's going to cosplay as a pole dancer.
And Hove will be shirtless. He promised the whole episode. So, I mean, lots to look forward to. I see that just walking upstairs, but the rest of you will all get a glimpse into that. I feel so bad for SuperProfessor during our side.
I love it. It's like I'm finally in the room, catching all the eye movement and all the slight giggles. It's good. Trust me.
Yeah, there's a lot.
I mean, like, we're kind of in the same room, like literally, like
we're
only
not even
one or two rooms separating us. Okay.
One of the things we were talking about, what's going to be unlocked and everything. This may not be the same as, well, obviously won't be the same as the beginning of the game, but as far as the beta, one of the two paths, trees, whatever you want to call them, for each subclass is going to be unlocked. The other one is going to be completely locked. So you'll have one that you can just play with, one that you won't be able to at all. So kind of like we talked about, I think it was just last week, you obviously won't upgrade and unlock those things the same way you would in the game. They're just going to give you, this is what you have, this is what you're going to have. You're not going to get any more, any less. So it's just kind of a taste of the new subclasses, the way the new perks work. And yeah, take it or leave it for the beta, see what you like, and go from there, which I think is good. You don't want to give away too much, but you don't want to make it so that you have to play. If it takes you 10 missions to unlock a whole tree and the beta's only giving you one mission, what did you really get to do? So I think it's a good way to go about it.
Yeah, I agree.
One other small thing quickly. Precision damage on shotguns seems to be back. Not really a big thing, but that was something that people were upset about, that they kind of got taken out with a lot of the nerfs that happened, and that kind of goes to what we've said before, that the weapons can be more powerful now, now that you've gotten rid of some of the movement abilities and toned down abilities in general and power ammo. You can make shotguns ridiculous again. Cool. Anybody care about that? Because it's been pointed out a lot, but it's not really a big deal to me.
No, I mean, that was my only comment. No, then shoulder shrug. I'm good.
Yeah, I think by tiering it into the 4 categories instead of the 3, it just pushes everything down towards heavy enough, and I'm okay with the shifting out to like energy and power. That's fine. I mean, when I get killed by those things, usually I run too close to someone, so that's my own fault for shotgun damage. So I need to learn to hold back and hold ground more. So it's fine.
Okay, so as far as news, I mean, I guess that's pretty much most of the stuff going on. The TWAB mostly talks about the beta, which we covered at the beginning. You can go in there. They tell you how to report any issues you may have with the beta. They tell you how to download the beta.
Feedback forums already set up.
Yeah, feedback forum. I mean, it's the TWAB this week is great as far as getting you ready for the beta. Make sure you go check that out. You can download it. If you missed the beginning of this, you can download it right now. It'll be ready to go for you next Tuesday. I believe it's Tuesday, right? 15th, 16th?
Yeah, 18th.
Yeah. If you're on PlayStation 4 pre-order. 19th, Xbox pre-order, 21st for everybody else. And it does point out, I wasn't aware of this, you don't have to have an active PlayStation Plus or Xbox Live account to take part in the beta.
Oh, wow.
So I don't know if that'll count for PvP, though, because that does require... I don't know. But it doesn't specify. It just says you don't have to have an active account. So even if you think to yourself, hey, I don't have any of that stuff, you can still play the beta. You got a new game for 6 days for free. Go try it out. Yeah, that's about it. One other thing, you also can now link your Bungie account to Blizzard, battle.net. But be careful. Apparently, there's been lots of issues where if you go to Bungie.net and you try to create an account on Blizzard through Bungie, there's some nonsense that goes on, and it completely can orphan your account. You can no longer sign into it. It's lost in cyberspace. You're done. That's it.
Don't do that.
Don't do that. So you want to go make a Blizzard account at battle.net, have that all done, go to Bungie, click link, type in your stuff, and you're good. But if you try to create one through Bungie, you are screwed. Don't do it. Don't do that. Okay. So that's as far as news. Now we're going to get into the fun stuff.
Before we do that, can I leave one piece of advice
You
for anyone
absolutely
playing
can.
beta? Okay, beta players, all the people listening, I want you to. This might be the new dad in me. To remember to choose slowly. You're only going to be doing 4 things. Do them slowly. Enjoy them. Spend some time with it. Don't freak out on Twitter about all the limits and all the problems. In a beta, it could all change. It could all have some things. You're testing it out. It's like if I got to see plays when they were half written and in production prior to them starting, I would feel just kind of honored to do that. So take your time with it. Enjoy it. That's just my trying to sound like I'm 1,000 years old providing advice for just tame those expectations a little bit, and it will be cool. It'll be chill. So.
Sorry, I'm laughing at Wilson in chat, but
yeah.
it actually made me think of something. You said if there's any issues, it's a beta, don't freak out. They did actually already point out a few known issues in the beta. They say it's a beta, some issues will be present, a couple of them are you may experience a bunch of networking error codes. It's a beta, new networking, new matchmaking, new all that stuff. They will be testing server stability throughout the entire thing, which may cause error codes to appear periodically. Don't freak out. It's a beta. I'm going to say that after every one of these. Sometimes during Crucible, location names may not appear. Don't freak out. You're still there, I promise. It's a beta. You may get kicked to orbit after witnessing a black screen when entering a countdown match. Players may sometimes be placed at the beginning of the inverted spire strike when joining in progress. Sandbox balancing is still in place. This is a big one. It's still taking place. Higher or lower damage than intended may happen. If this gun is absolutely ridiculous, it'll probably get changed. Use the feedback forum, let them know. Don't freak out. Let them know. That's pretty much what it boils down to. Go play it. Let them know in we've talked about before, a clear, concise, professional, adult way what you think is good, bad. That's going to be great. If you go in there yelling, Bungie's stupid, no one's going to pay attention to you. Welcome to life. But enjoy it. It's coming. It's soon. This is the last time you'll hear from us before. So, now, either you guys got anything else before Destiny 2-wise, beta-wise?
No.
Triton?
I think the Twitter questions is what I'm looking forward to.
Me too. Okay, so we're gonna get on to Triton. I hate your responses in chat. I want to punch you right now.
What are you talking about? I'm saying
we're gonna move on to community questions. We got a few good ones here from Twitter, and anybody in chat, whether they're for Professor, me, Triton, all of us, general. Let's hear them. We got a little bit of time here. We're gonna start with Twitter. One of the first ones for me is from Cassandra Silver. It says, "Nerd out for me, Rezocast. What's the most obscure reference or allusion in D1, and why does it make your nerdy heart sing?"
Yeah, there are so many. There are absolutely so many. It's mostly in blue weapons and in purple weapons and all this flavor text that no one's really spending much time thinking about. I mean, I still think it's in some ways it's their sense of kind of the meta, and I'm going to use meta differently here. The meta of literary or intertextual meta. Things like the Byronic hero, Brood Baby Brood, which is also a weird reference to Burn Baby Burn, Disco Inferno, but also these brooding figures who are lost and moving around. But at the same time, I don't know. For me, my favorite weird gun is I can't even say it. TF the fall will probably kill you. I can't even remember the acronym. TF. It's got a weird acronym. 1969 from Butch
Yeah.
Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. And anyone who knows that to use this gun is going to not only get you the kill, but guarantee that you get killed, because those guys do not survive that in any way possible. The Hawksaw has to be my favorite, because the Hawksaw is the most beautiful grammar and literary illusion possible. You know the Hawksaw, you've all played with it. You know that its flavor text is that a northwesterly wind is blowing. Well, that's an allusion to both Hamlet, because Hamlet, when the wind is southerly, he knows a hawk from a handsaw. The Seahawks are the Seattle team, and a Hawksaw is the past tense of the Seahawks, who won the Super Bowl the year right before that gun came into being. And the Hawksaw, the northwesterly wind, was heard. I just love that sort of way in which it uses kind of the grammar and the flip and all that to sort of come together. And I mean, I could go into shader that would just be like the fate of all fools here, where we just, don't get out of it after a million hours. I mean, I think it's got to be those. Beyond that, I mean, there are so many obscure references that even I don't get half the time. Stuff from Greek and Roman mythology and sort of odes and epics. So I absolutely think that could be there. But I think someone else might want me to like educate you guys. Maybe Lego asked me to educate you, so I'll wait to nerd out on educating you guys until later and end that answer there. And I hope that answers some of what Cassandra asked. So.
That was maybe the most amazing thing that's ever been spoken to me.
I'm sure that Triton has said great things to you off air.
Yeah, plus that, like, when that Waffle House waitress, like, recanted her order back to you the other night, you were
I've only been to Waffle House twice in my life. They were both at Guardian Con. You weren't there, so...
No, you've been to Waffle House.
We don't even have a Waffle House. Anyway. Botbuster, who I know is in chat, he asks, are there any Destiny subclasses you were disappointed or not returning in D2? I mean,
I think the only one at first that I eventually hope will arrive is feels slightly more support from. I don't need Shadow Shot back, but something, even something on the skill tree that lets him have this support or have this support thing in some way. I still feel pole dancing is still a one-man or one-woman enterprise. It's not necessarily like everyone you tap with the pole, like just butt touch here and there, gets a mod onto their damage or something, but like, something a little support-ish. That's the only thing I'm missing. Not the hammers, not the tickle fingers, but yeah.
I think I'm with you on that one. That's the one thing Hunter had always been missing, was kind of a support type of class, and they got it, and now it's gone again. So yeah, that's probably the only one. I don't really care about hammers or storm. Hammers maybe a little bit. I had fun with those. I never played storm. I never enjoyed storm. I don't care. Trey, do you even remember what the subclasses are in Destiny?
Some of them. Like, I was thinking, like, there's a couple I'm like, okay, that one sounds a little bit familiar. No, I mean, I don't. As I said, we talked about the other point about the subclasses, which ones are back and which ones aren't. I don't have a huge preference necessarily. I just thought lore-wise, could, at least in my mind, made sense that way. But I'm not disappointed that any are coming back, and I'm really happy that the ones that are, there's like a twist to them as well, and they've kind of changed up how you can select things.
Yeah.
So to me, that's more than fine. We can call it Voidwalker, but it's going to be a lot different, hopefully. So,
well, that's what I was going to say. Really, it's only one subclass per class in all reality, because even though technically Arcblade or Blade Dancer, Sunsinger, and Defender are all gone and been replaced, they're really there, spiritually.
Right.
Arcstrider is kind of a progression of Blade Dancer, Dongblade to Sunsinger, Sentinel to Defender. So really it's just those three, and yeah, I mean, Night Stalker was the only one of those that was really, I think, really cool to me. So Conman in chat did point out, he said, Mark Noseworthy said today in regards to being asked questions about TTK subclasses, there are many things we are not going to announce or reveal before September 6th. We want the community to have new memories of discovery together, which it was asked, or it was the answer in regards to a Taken King subclass question, but it also seems so typically Bungie vague, and talking about Discovery. It's probably more general than the subclasses, and that was just his way of getting out of that question, I feel like. But who knows? Maybe they'll come back.
As an acting teacher, they are the best media performers because they know the right ways, like politicians, to just give you a little but move you on and flip it back. I love their answers. So yeah, I agree. That's a hint, but we'll see.
Yeah,
We'll see.
that could be a very blatant, hey, we have some new stuff with those subclasses, or it could be just I don't really want to answer that. There's going to be new stuff coming. Like, you never know with them. Like, they're like shrouded in mystery, like Triton. Like, why is he not here? Why does he... Are you in a new room, by the way, Triton?
Dude, I'm 2 floors below you. Like
does this say, are you in a new room? I don't see any
actually
pictures.
So the truth is, my oldest
shrouded
son
in mystery
is trying to play his Overwatch comp games, and he happened to get on a roll here after dinner, and he was like, Dad, can I just stay up and do these comp games with his friends because his friends are online? So I said, yeah, but I do my podcast in there, so I actually moved everything out into the kitchen so that he could play. I think he's got like 2 comp games left in
what
the
a good dad.
And so I think he's won like 6 out of the 7 or 6 out of the 8, so he's doing pretty good. So
Who does he main? Who does he main?
For the comp, I think it depends. Like, he's got a bunch of his buddies on. When I was in there a little bit ago, he was Mei, and then I was in there and he was Genji for a while. So
oh, of course he's a Genji. He would be. Small children. All right. Next question, and this is one of the interesting ones. You can give a little of the backstory to this if you'd like, Professor. But Chibi Kim asks, who's the better axe thrower, Professor or Maverick?
It is definitely Professor, and I have video evidence and photography to prove it. So we did. I live between Toronto and Ottawa, and so like I was in Toronto up until last year, moving to the University of Ottawa. Came back to Toronto. Maverick lives near Toronto, and he's the only Rezo I've actually met and touched butts with. So I have that connection in person. But we got together with he's been hanging out with me with some of my old clan from year 1, and we had an axe throwing tournament because some of the Americans from that clan came up to Canada, and we had a big week of barbecues, drinking, and hanging out. And there's this place called the Backyard Axe Throwing League, and they have an elimination tournament system with axe throwing. And Professor found out that with small hatchets, most people were throwing them like overhead with 2 arms, to get various points. At one point during training, the guy's like, just use one hand. You've got perfect like form and procedure. He's like, did you play golf or baseball? Like, do you know what you're doing? And from that point on, it was center of the bullseye every time with hatchets, to the point where I've been elected, hatchet killer for a zombie invasion if we're in a hardware store. Like, I'm the guy for those headshots with hatchets. And it was tons of fun, and it was nice because it was Rezo, and that clan's the Antler Assassins. It was Rezo and the Antlers, an American Antler versus a Canadian Rezo, and Canadians, Rezo took it in the end. And I think I did play Mav in one game, and I just wiped the floor with him. I'll have to check the actual stats we had.
Well, yeah,
he was a great sport, but yeah.
To be fair, Cassandra Silver again responded and said, I was there. Mav pulled a good game, but Professor owned it. So, yep. Mav,
there it is.
I don't have to tell you, man. Sounds like you got spanked.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. We're going to have to revoke your Canadian card. Is that a thing?
There's only 3 of us in Rezo still with MTash, so we've got a limited group of Canadians. We've got one trials team in Canada. That's it.
Yeah, but at least you got Tash, so you're good.
Yeah, exactly. We're good.
All right, we have one from Lego who couldn't be here today, but he is here on Twitter. He wants to know, as our professor, what has been the most academic thing you've taught Team Resolute? I seem to recall a few literature conversations.
There were many, especially when I first started streaming Chasing Reset. I would get people asking me different questions about that and going through things with literature and other things. But ultimately, I think, I've probably mentioned a few things in our chat in different areas like that. I could kind of nerd out and tell you something now that I'm actually been thinking quite a little bit about that might tie into that previous question as needed. But
have at it.
Okay, do you remember the Taken King vid docs? Do you remember any of that? If you go back to those, all of the bad guys in that had actually different labels and names on them. They were called things like Sliver and Slice and different names like that for anyone who was taken. They had various names and various characteristics. Ultimately, the thing that's the most amazing for me about The Taken King is that it's actually an entirely Macbeth-inspired video game. Oryx is a version of the King of Scotland, and you, like Macbeth, have to take him down and ultimately come forward to sort of reclaim everything. Do you remember the ship that you get for defeating him?
Yeah.
Yeah? Well,
Yeah.
it's actually something that Hamlet says, and I've got the quotes because I'm going to Shakespeare out here for a second. When Macbeth is considering killing the king, his exact words are, "Is this a dagger which I see before me, the handle towards my hand, much like the sword? Come, let me clutch thee. I have thee not, yet I see thee still. Art thou not my fatal vision, sensible to feeling as to sight? Art thou not a dagger in my mind, a false creation?" The touch of malice is also a quote directly from Macbeth, where he talks about how our malicious thoughts and our touches will be the things that ultimately take us down. It's the only gun that actually literally kills you, just like Macbeth, his poor decisions cause him to somewhat die going forward. The big, remember the big, oh, I'm forgetting the name of it. The ogre, remember the ogre that Oryx takes?
Yeah.
Yeah, the original name of it was the Thane of Oryx, which is, Macbeth is the Thane of Cawdor and the Themis, which are Scottish names that are used to, instead of dukes, they're thanes.
Yeah.
It's a Scottish. We'll get someone Scottish, to tell us, a Scottish resident to remind us of it. But there's all these wonderful D1. We're all taken out. In some ways, we're kind of like a Macbeth. We don't know why we've killed this guy, and now we're the king. And ultimately, it's going to lead to our own downfall in some ways. So that might be my most super nerdy attempt to Shakespeare the crap out of this game. So
that was amazing.
That was pretty cool.
I don't even know where to. I'm glad I asked this question last because I don't even know where to go from here. That was.
Here's the quote. This is when Macbeth has killed the King of Scotland. Duncan is in his grave. After life's fitful fever, he sleeps well. Treason is done, is worse. Nor steel nor poison. Malice domestic. Foreign levy. Nothing can touch him further. And that's the two instances of touch and malice that appear in all of Shakespeare's work in the same, paragraph or stanza. So the touch of malice. It's Macbeth's original way to kill kings, and your final way to kill, a king of other worlds. So take that, lore people. We'll see what happens.
No, that's pretty awesome.
Thanks for coming, folks.
It's kind of really it's really cool to know that they really sample from those things to give us a better story than we probably appreciate. Well, I'd say 99.9% of people didn't appreciate it to that level.
And teaching playwriting, like so many writers for theater, for film, for anything, want to layer in these wonderful ways to echo the plays or the stories that meant something to them. And let's be honest, witchcraft and otherworldly, like that is the Hive. They are the Macbeth bad guys in some way. So it totally works. It was there and it got filtered, and I'm hoping there'll be even more of it when we get into the next one.
Well, I have to ask them. I have to ask them because you kind of fleshed this out. So even though I think some of those things are always going to be hidden in the background, what can they do in Destiny 2 to bring some of that forward so that we can feel more of an impact for the story? Because as you're playing through that story, you're probably enjoying it at a much different level than, the rest of us are, like, oh my gosh, another calcified fragment type of thing to get the touch of malice and all that. What can they do better in Destiny 2 to bring some of that flavor forward so that it resonates more and we can appreciate kind of the journey we're going through?
Yeah, I think the simplest thing would be audio logging certain things. It's a very simple storytelling tool, but going back to something like Dead Space, by finding audio logs going through a space station, you just had that concurrent sort of sound and presence. But ultimately, I think it would be about introducing characters and references to things that don't get resolved, like Zavala just explaining that he's been doing something and telling us a bit about it. Not telling us he can't explain it, but making sure he just references something and some small things, I think would be a great way to do it, to not tie up a bunch of ends, but not make them super cliffhangery, I guess, for certain people. So
okay.
Well, just a couple comments in chat that were after that
Of course.
wonderful breakdown. We have awesome, Bife Who. We have wow, and we have Gah, so beautiful. So those were all just from after your Oryx breakdown there. Another question, Big Tater Tot. I don't know that this. I feel like this one's probably a little simpler, but you'll probably school me here. But he wants to know if you can break down the palindrome like you did with the Hawksaw. But the palindrome's a pretty basic one, right? Or am I missing something there?
Yeah, it's a pretty basic one. It's just any palindrome has to be reversible back and forward. So it has to offer that same sort of flow back and forward. I forget the palindrome that is actually part of the flavor text for that gun, but it is literally you could flip the letters and it would
coward.
Oh, draw oh coward. So yeah, so exactly, it would flip and it would actually work in that way.
But there's no like Shakespeare thing going on there or anything.
There is there's no. That's just them trying to basically describe a literary device. Like, imagine a gun called the automatopoeia, which is I know that word exactly. You know, the bamf or the humph that you see in Batman when someone gets hit. That would be an amazing gun, but that's just a a literary device gun, which itself, those are better in like Byronic hero sounds like ironic hero, like someone who shouldn't be the hero, someone who's out of place. So good call, but the palindrome, it just became the meta. Let's just do that. That's all it was.
Yeah.
So,
another comment, this is so interesting, makes me hate English a little less. So
well, I'm glad because it's layered into everything. There's only like 7 possible stories or narratives, and even Shakespeare stole everything. So ultimately we're all stealing and repurposing, and that's what I think the Grimoire and the writers on this game have done some great work. It just doesn't always come through in the final product, and that's no fault of theirs. That's just what designers and different coders and people developing it will think translates at different points. I'm happy they found a way to put it in there. You got to be like a detective. You got to go in there and find these little nuggets and spend time thinking about them. So, love it. I mean, I have to say, Oryx is like, I don't know. I think I still think the greatest experience I had in D1. I may be answering my own question or a future question. is that time with Skolas, spending so long doing it legit and finally doing it. But the best story I had was Oryx. Like the Taken King I was done. I didn't need Rise of Iron. It was fun, but Taken King was the game for me. So,
well, here's to Destiny 2 kind of reproducing and maybe even surpassing some of the stuff they did in the Taken King, because as you said, I think the Taken King was their first real foray into really getting that story down and having it being the driving force behind the game. So let's hope, as much as you liked Oryx, let's hope that Gaul beats him out, right?
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, it's as long as I was hesitant to think of what Shakespearean character he reminds me of. I don't know enough yet, but we'll wait and see what Gaul's true seated motivations could be. Oryx was this pathetic guy who knew he would eventually fall, but I don't think Gaul could be fascinating. We'll see.
All right. Well, we got a couple more questions in chat here. I'm out of ways to make myself sound intelligent in that conversation, so we're gonna have to move on.
That's okay.
Destiny related, Big Tater Tot wants to know if he thinks we'll get an ability to go prone in D2, and I don't see that at all. That's my answer. No.
I doubt it.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I think that slows down the game too much. That's kind of a slow type of thing, whereas I know that we've toned down movement speed, but it just doesn't seem to fit into the Destiny world to me.
Yeah, I would say there's no need for it. I mean, you guys pretty much said that. I don't know.
Well, it's
I've made a bunch of comments in chat too, so I was hopeful.
I was paying attention.
You would get to my comments, but okay.
No, I'm ignoring all your comments.
Okay.
River Tamcat asks, how fast will the farm crash on Saturday? One, for anyone who read that, I believe it is Sunday. But I hope it's either not at all or the second they turn it on, so that they have time to figure out what the hell went wrong. I hope it's not like, hey, we're about to end this hour, boom, everything died. That would be probably not as good. So, I don't know. They seem to know, they seem to be, kind of baiting us into, hey, everyone go there at the same time. So, I'm hoping they have it figured out, or at least think they do.
Yeah, I think it might crash for some of us, but not all of us, or they're testing something like, does it kill out certain servers or zones, or is it Americas versus Asia or Europe or something? What happens? Because it's a worldwide time, right? It's not hour by time zone.
Yeah,
right?
it's 1 hour worldwide. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
And yeah, like we talked about a little bit last week, that's a very obvious stress test. Get as many people in there as we can and hope it works.
Yeah.
So. All right. Well, I think that about wraps it up for this week's episode. That was, I mean, we got Destiny 2 coming up. We just learned, I probably learned more about Shakespeare in the last 10 minutes than I did in all of school. Thank you so much for coming on. That was a blast. We really appreciate it. We'll definitely, have to have you back again once we get some story, and you'll be like the Rezocast
the lore,
and
man.
story guy. Yeah.
That'd be a ton of fun. I'd really love that, guys. This is great. And like to be able to talk like, all the news, the PvP, and like the hype. I've downplayed it, but like I was shaking a few hours ago when I first got it downloaded, and I know I won't sleep tonight and I won't sleep tomorrow. And it's because I missed original beta. I didn't get the game until it came out.
Mm-hmm.
So I missed that, and now I get a chance to be there, and I can't wait. So it's gonna be amazing. Tons of fun, guys.
Unfortunately, the hype was a little much for me. Normally, I'm used to like, okay, we have these 3 things to talk about. Let's go. Without Lego here, I didn't know what to do. So hopefully we got through everything we needed to. But again, thank you, guys. Everyone in chat, thank you guys for showing up too. We're gonna call it for episode 42 of Rezocast. First of all, Professor, where can we find you?
You can follow me on Twitter at RezoProfessor. SuperProfessor was taken, so I went with RezoProfessor. And that's REZO, because I'm Canadian, Professor. REZO, Professor. And if you happen to be in Ottawa, I teach at the University of Ottawa. I occasionally do gaming lectures and certain nights in the library where I'm teaching media studies and gaming. I'll be checking out stuff at Ottawa Comic Con and a few other events throughout the Ottawa area, and sometimes in Toronto. But hit me up on Twitter. It's the best way to follow me, and we'll you can look for me in your university library too. I've written some Shakespeare stuff. You'll find it somewhere in journals and books. Maybe I can help you write that essay. Who knows? So we'll see.
Yeah, do it. Do all of those things. I'm Hove. You can find me on Twitter at Hove76, obviously here on Twitch at twitch.tv/Hove76, and once a year or so on YouTube, also at Hove76. Triton?
Yep, you could find me on all of those same 3 places, all under Triton Please, the Please being PLZ, and I do have one more special video for before Destiny 1 comes to a close I'm trying to do for YouTube. Will heavily feature pictures of Hove, so go there and check that out sometime between now and early September. All
right. Finally, you can find Rezocast on Twitter at Rezocast. We'd love to talk to you guys, not just each episode, but anytime. Hit us up on there. You can find us. We do have a website, rezocast.com, which has all our episodes. But for the most part, you can find us on YouTube, iTunes, and Google Play, all under Rezocast. We'd love if you could leave us a review on any of those if you have fun and enjoy the show. Or even if you don't, let us know. We'll try to fix it. Finally, Team Resolute. At Team Resolute on Twitter. Twitch.tv/ResoluteGaming7, which has kind of fallen off, but I'm assuming with D2 we're going to have some people back up there. And a soon-to-be back up and running TeamResolute.com. So, yeah, that's been it for Rezocast episode 42, and we'll see you next week during the beta. GG, guys.
GG's.
GG.